And we are live with a few minutes late, everyone. That's what happens sometimes with technology. I am Marie-Helene and we are talking about strategic resilience today with fabulous guest, Michele Meyer-Shipp. Michele, hi.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm good and I'm so thrilled. I will introduce you, Michele, to everyone. Just before I do, I want to welcome everyone who is joining and who has been patient enough to stay there while we're making our way live today. If you are available to do that, please put a quick note in LinkedIn to tell us, or wherever you're joining from, to tell us maybe your name, where you're connecting from. If you have any questions, please share with us. I will be monitoring the chat. But for right now, let me introduce Michele by reading a bit of her bio. I say a bit of her bio because there's so much to be said that I will have to just summarize high level. Michele Meyer-Shipp joined Dress for Success Worldwide as CEO in February 2022. Michele leads the organization's 140 affiliates in more than 20 countries as it continues its mission to help women achieve economic independence via a suite of services to include job readiness support, professional development resources, coaching and mentorship, and workplace attire. What's not to love? Michele joined Dress for Success from Major League Baseball, where she served as Chief People and Culture Officer. She served as Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer at KPMG, as Global Chief Diversity Officer for Prudential and other organizations. She spent the first 12 years of her professional career practicing employment law in both private and public sectors. She is a sought after speaker, has served as contributor on many very important top media outlets like New York Times, USA Today, The Economist, Forbes, and others. Michele, wait a second, there's one more piece I want to make sure I mention. She's a member of the boards of the Ladies Professional Golf Association, LPGA, and the Fritz Pollard Alliance Foundation, which is the NFL, associated with the NFL. In her free time, loves to travel, play golf, attend sporting events, and spend time with her husband and 3 young adult sons. Michele, welcome.
Thank you. So happy to be here. Really excited to have this conversation about resilience.
Yes, and so am I, especially in the context, everyone, where last week I was in New York for my book launch and had a very special event with Dress for Success Worldwide, which is my partner charity. So I could not be more honored to have been there last week and to have Michele with me today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So let's jump in. There are so many aspects of your work because with you in this conversation, we've got resilience, leadership, nonprofit sector, supporting, empowering women.
Yep.
Maybe let's start with your personal connection with resilience, how it has shaped your leadership. Share us something on this.
Yeah, sure. It's funny. I was thinking about this earlier, and I realized, as I was preparing for this conversation, that I have had to realize how to navigate being resilient from very early on in my career. And it came early on when I left the practice of employment law. I was about, 10 years in big and small law firms where everything was pretty status quo. But when I moved out of the law and I moved into my first organization, I had my first instance where I was subjected to unexpected change, organizational change that threw me for a complete loop. Right. So when I left private practice and I went to state government, I had a really great job. I was working for the governor and I was an appointee and I loved my job. Everything was ticking. It was perfect. The family, work life, the job, beautiful. And then one day out of the blue, we get a call to a press conference and it's the governor is stepping down. And my husband and I at the time, we were both appointees to the governor. And when the governor steps down, all appointees wonder, uh-oh, what happens to me? Because when the next governor comes in, that governor may or may not want you in that seat. And that was the first real time I had to think about, okay, I have a situation. I didn't see it coming. this could, cause havoc in our lives. What are we going to do? And we had to come up with a plan and a strategy on how we were going to navigate it. And we did, and it worked out. And as I think beyond that, there have been other organizations where I've worked where I came to discover that organizational changes, restructures, downsizings, etc., the market economy and its impact on the business could drive changes that nobody saw coming. So I quickly learned that the key part of being resilient, or one of the key elements, is being agile, being nimble, and being open to receiving the change, even if it's change that makes you uncomfortable. I mean, most change is uncomfortable, but if it's something you didn't see coming, that's where I really think I started to hone the skill sets on agility, flexibility, and also the skill set of managing my mindset to find the bright light, right? To find the bright light in the midst of what might feel like an unsettled disturbance, if that
Yes.
makes sense.
Oh, yes, I'm sure many of us are nodding. Yep. Completely understand.
It's true, right?
Yes, yes. Oh, and so important that that piece about being ready for those changes that we may not see coming, because often we love to see what's coming, control or have visibility, and we do a
Yes.
lot to try to see everything that's visible, but so many things will happen that we don't know. So I love that concept of being prepared for, of course, the things we see, and knowing there will be things we don't see, and preparing for that agility. How is this something now, bringing this to your current team?
Yes.
Dress for Success Worldwide is such a broad organization, has such a great presence for all of us. Yeah. How do you help your team be like this, stay agile?
So it's actually funny. We're living through this exercise right now in a way it's exciting, but it's scary for all of us at the same
Mm,
time.
yeah.
So, tomorrow actually will be my 2-year anniversary.
Oh,
Thank you. And in my first year, it was a lot of listening and learning,
yeah.
and understanding the organization. And coming to the close of my first year, we recognized that there was a need to refresh our strategic plan. And in doing that, we were left with pillars of work that require us to do things differently, that require us to do things that are new, and that in some instances require us to pivot and do things that we've never done before, and maybe do things that we're uncomfortable doing, and step into spaces that we've never stepped. And so it is uncomfortable for folks. So for what I've tried to do is, one, help people understand that, one, change is a constant, and change is organically in many instances uncomfortable, and that's okay. So kind of getting people comfortable with being uncomfortable
Yeah.
is where I've kind of started, and just giving everybody permission to, like, it's okay. Like, we know this is messy. We know this is not perfect. We know there's not a playbook. We've never done this before. And really giving people space to be able to discuss that and navigate that. I also have brought in coaches to help us. We have a lot of great executive coaches who have actually donated their time to us, to have group coaching sessions, to have individual coaching sessions. I'm sorry, so that we can meet everyone where they are, as a team member and as an individual, in navigating that change. And that's been really helpful. And then I find that it's really important, when you're asking people to be resilient through change, for leaders to be completely transparent
Yeah.
and authentic in everything that's happening in the organization. Because the biggest thing I learned, and I learned this from having been the recipient of the change, now I'm actually the driver of the change. But when I was the recipient of the change in an organization, I remember realizing, like, I don't know what's going on up there. Like, I don't know what they're talking about on that top
Mhm.
floor. And God, I wish they would tell us something. So remembering what that felt like, now I am very, very, very cognizant of being very transparent with our team. So we actually have a monthly strategy update meeting with the full team, and we take them through every one of the pillars of our strategic plan, and we let them know where we are, where we're headed,
Mm.
what the roadblocks are, and we give people the opportunity to share their ideas, express their concerns, or inform us of any challenges they may be having with any aspect of the strategic movement that's impacting them.
That's so amazing. And one of the things that I know we all do, I do in these conversations, and people who join either live or after on the recording, is to look for our next action, the next thing
Yes.
we could add. And so much from what you just said are great opportunities. Number one, how you're reminding us of the system that the workplace is. So the overall organization, the specific team, and the coaching, some of it done as teams, but also the support to individuals. That's critical. The attention to creating that space. It's a word I was thinking about as you were talking, and then you said it as well. It's critical to allow, because so many people, sometimes us in a number of ways, we're just not raised that way or educated that way, that there will be uncomfortable moments and it's fine. We more associate the uncomfortable moments with should not happen. And so hearing from a leader transparently, I'm also experiencing it type of language can be so powerful. And I mean, having met you also in person, that's completely how you come across in that very genuine way. So things for us to keep in mind, and really good um, actions to consider. Tell us about mentors, the role of mentors, because you mentioned some resources, which is critical, and you're using them. Love that
Yes.
too. Um, what have you observed in terms of the role of mentors specifically for women, as all women, us, people that Dress for Success serves, people um, that work with Dress for Success, role of mentor?
Yeah, so mentors are critical. I mean, I can personally vouch for the fact that it's been with the support of what I call my board of mentors, because I have
Mm.
many mentors, that I've been able to make critical career decisions.
Yeah,
I've been able to get support and have people to talk to when I was navigating through change, when I am navigating through change. I mean, I still have mentors,
yeah,
and they help me really stay grounded. They help me think things through. They help me make decisions. And they also pressure test me when, I may be on the fence about something.
yeah,
They really, I honestly wouldn't be here today in this role without the support of my mentors. And actually, it's interesting. We did some research on this topic, and I have a couple of interesting data points here around mentors. But one of the things I wanted to share is it is one of the data points I found talks about how mentors really help women in particular in navigating around different spaces. So here's one study. It says one study found that mentoring programs dramatically improve promotion and retention rates for women and underrepresented groups, 15% to 38% as compared to non-mentored employees. The Cornell University School of ILR found that mentoring programs increases representation at management levels as well. So while I can personally speak to the fact that mentors have helped me navigate all aspects of my career, I think it's also more structurally also proven that with respect to helping women and other groups who are underrepresented, that it really is a benefit to have a mentor. That mentor can help you with your individual goals, with your professional goals, even with your personal goals, kind of as a life coach, and really help you think about professional development, upward movement. They may be able to help you when you're thinking about a career change or a job decision and
yeah,
things of that nature. So I encourage everyone to make sure they have a board of mentors. And I also like to always remind people that it's okay to acknowledge that mentors change over time and that you have a mentor for a moment in time or a season in time when you need that particular person for a particular point in your life. And then there may come another season when you need a different mentor or mentors for a different season in your life.
So true, and connects very well with some aspects of even building our resilience or even the adaptability you referred to earlier. Things change, sometimes predictably, sometimes unexpectedly. And so because things and context changes,
That's
then
right.
what we need to navigate it, including which mentors, which board of mentors, we very much love that wording, may need to evolve. Yeah. And that could be part of your strategic
That's
resilience.
right.
Yes. Tell us about what you've observed in terms of when women build even more their resilience, for especially as it relates to their career. What kinds of things have you seen them do that has been most helpful? And there could be many things there. Maybe tell us a few.
Yeah, I think when we can navigate resilience well, I think it's really, really powerful. I think a couple of things happen. I think one, we show up more confidently.
Yeah.
When we can acknowledge and see, okay, I've got to navigate this change. Let me think about how I want to navigate this change. Let me have a plan for how I navigate the change or the situation. You're more confident because you have a plan or at least options in place. You have clarity.
Yes.
So you can show up more confidently. And I think you can also, it can result in you being more effective, efficient, and strategic in your role because you've thought through the different angles and the different parameters of whatever the issue or the change or the challenge is that you're navigating. And at the end state, you do better, but then your organization and your team does better because you're coming to the space again at an amplified level. I mean, if you're stuck in, I can't accept the change, I'm resisting the change, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to navigate this change, you're not going to be much help to anyone. I like to think about having a resilience plan as putting on your oxygen mask, right? If you put on your oxygen mask and you can breathe and you can think it through, you're going to actually be able to step out and help others do better, your team and beyond.
So true. Allows all of us, right, ourselves and people around us, bring our best professional and personal self to everything. It's like it unlocks the potential in many ways.
Yes.
So time goes really quickly here. What advice, and I know there could be many, again, pick maybe a couple, what advice would you give to aspiring women that are aspiring to more, to either their next leadership role or their first leadership role? What would you recommend?
So many things. I actually wrote them down because I have so many and I want to just be tight
Okay,
on this.
tell
So I would say, first of all, if you're aspiring kind of to that next thing, I think the first thing to make sure of is that you're really solid and strong at your current craft. Be excellent at your craft, one. Two, I would say to be constantly thinking about your professional development and how you want to grow, where you want to grow, and seeking development opportunities that are going to get you there. That's the second thing. So you have to be a continuous learner, continuously striving for development. The third thing I would recommend is that you raise your hand and volunteer for stretch assignments, to step into a space that may be new to you at your current employer, for example. If there's a project or a cross-functional team or a new initiative that needs support, because that's going to allow you to meet and network with more leaders. It's going to allow you to better learn the organization. And guess what? When you do this extra stretch assignment, you may actually discover a strength that you have that you didn't even know you had. And we don't have time to have this conversation today, but I can tell you that for me, that stretch assignment was what took me from employment lawyer to business leader to now CEO. It was one particular stretch assignment that I raised my hand for on one courageous day that turned the whole trajectory of my career. And that stretch assignment introduced me to leaders, It showed me skill sets I had. It showed other skill sets I had that opened doors for me that I'm not sure would have been opened along the way. So I would say those are a couple of the key things. I could talk about more, but I'll say one last one. Ask for what you want. Ask
Mhm.
for what you want, because as an employment lawyer and an HR leader, I can tell you without a doubt that there are all too many days in all too many rooms where people are making decisions about you without knowing what you're interested in and what your goals are. So ask for what you want.
So wonderful. And you see how for all of us, sometimes we put a lot of focus on the quality of the performance, what we do, thinking that it will be seen or, guessed or whatever. And that visibility to others, but to your point, also to ourselves as we take on, say, these stretch assignments, it allows us to have visibility even more on areas of interest, strengths, um, and to everyone else as well. So critical. Michele, what a fabulous conversation every single time, and here today as well. I want to thank you so much for having joined all of us today. I want to thank everyone for joining. I know some of you are live, some of you are listening after, but what a rich conversation, Michele. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Great to have you. Great to be here together. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
amazing. And everyone, we will see you soon for another episode talking about strategic resilience. Bye.